this up. Got a interesting setup at the moment. So I got my N64 controller here that I'm gonna try and restore. Keep the mouse mat. So yeah, for context, here's the controller I restored. As you can tell, it's got a really nice little snap back to it. Alright, so first of all we're going to do a benchmark on this controller because I want to know what the range is on the stick. So as you can see on the screen, got like a value on it. So the way I can tell whether or not I can actually restore this is if I pull up and push it. See how the Y value has gone up into the 80s, however when I drop it back down it's like in the 70s. So I can tell that if I push it up, I reach that 80 mark. See that? Even close to 90 there. So when I leave it in its normal kind of thing, you can see there's hell of a dead zone on it as well, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little benchmark to see what the range is. Do like this. Make sure it's in the right position. Yeah, it's pretty shafted, as you can see. So weird. And for context, that's what it should look like, or close to. It just gives you a load of stuff, right? But as you can see, that's pretty bad. So what we're gonna do is, with me lifting that joystick up, let's see what kind of range we get on it. So I'm pushing up, but I'm also pulling on the stick. And back to center. I can't really do anything when it's in the center because it'll annoy it. So you can see that I'm looking to get quite a big difference when I pull up on the stick versus leaving it as it currently sits. So to rectify that, what I'm going to do is use these lovely little things. So I've got some rubber O-rings. I'm going to take one of these small ones here. So you can see it there. Tiny, tiny, tiny thing. I'm going to disassemble the controller and slot this over the stick. Right, so the internal of the controller looks like that. It looks like crap, right? But there's three screws we need to remove to get the module out, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. As you can see, look at the internal of that. That is rough, dude. That is rough. Yeah, disgusting that is. So what I got here is some isopropyl alcohol. We're just going to clean inside this bowl. Right out. So this is a perfect example of why some people, you know, if you didn't understand what the benefit of having a steel bowl or a steel module is, this is exactly what it is. When you got plastic on plastic causing friction and leaving that kind of absolute mess inside this bowl, that doesn't happen when you've got a steel bowl, because obviously it's not got plastic, it's got plastic metal or if you're lucky enough to have a steel stick too, and steel gears, then you're pretty much never going to have this problem. Yeah, now that that's all cleaned up, so I've got the spring here. What I tend to do with the spring is I pull the string to give the spring, sorry, to give it a bit more length, and that pushes pressure down onto the module, and in a sense would raise the stick a bit more as well. Whether that actually happens is another thing, but it's always something I do. So, and I've repaired 2 or 3 of these now. So, what I tend to do next is I get myself a cocktail stick. And take out 1 or 2, 3 in this instance. And then I tend to get myself some silicone lube. So this is the one that I've got, but you can use, if you got controller lube, definitely use that, but this is pretty much made of the same stuff, so it doesn't really matter. We take a little bit of that, not much at all, and we just dab that in, move it around the bottom of the bowl. So just putting it in the bottom of the bowl there and moving it around. It'll actually take a little bit more than what I put, so don't be shy with the lube really. Just move that around. We don't want it seeping out, obviously, but obviously the more lubricated it is, the better. And then we've got these 4 ridges on the inside of the bowl, on the outside, sorry. So there's one here, and that's where the gears sit. So if you imagine, there's going to be a bit of friction between this part of the gear and where it sits. So to kind of deal with that, we're going to lube it. So put a good bit on it. Drop a bit of lube in there. Not too much so that it goes on the wheels, because if it goes on the wheels, then light can't shine through and give you an accurate reading on, you know, how much pressure you're putting on the stick. So we don't want to put too much on there, but just enough so that it kind of, you know, is quite well lubricated. Obviously, you can put as much or as little as you like, but I like to put quite a bit on there. And it's the same for the gears. So to prevent or try and, you know, make it last, on the inside slot here, where you can see those white dots, on the inside of that is where I'm putting more lube, because that's where the contact with the stick and the gear is. So I want to make sure that that's not going to grind down too much on the stick. Quite self-explanatory once you start doing it. Anywhere where there's contact, plastic on plastic, you want to put some sort of lubrication on it. I've seen people use Vaseline. I don't know how well that would work. Personally, I wouldn't put Vaseline inside a controller. But you do you. Do whatever works. So I'm also applying lubrication on this part of the gear, which is between this little fan and this little rotator part. That's what sits on the little grooves on your bowl. So I'm just lubing that up as well. Again, put as much or as little as you want, but you don't want it seeping into those wheels as you're moving the controller, right? Because then you'll have a really bad time trying to clean those wheels out after you've put some silicone stuff on it. Is not a good time. So we're going to do that with the last gear as well. Rinse and repeat. It's an O-ring, obviously, but we're going to trim down this O-ring because we only want the height. We don't really need it to be as big as that. We just need it to be high. So to stop it from preventing the gear from moving, or the stick moving with the gear, just going to trim it down ever so slightly. So yeah, I've cut that O-ring down so it's a bit smaller, and we're then gonna get our joystick, our stick, and I'm just gonna slot that over the stick like this, and it's gonna go between the ball and where the gear would sit. So the gear is going to be here, right? And we're going to put the band there, so it's sitting on top of the gear, and it's making enough contact to allow the gear to move freely. And we're just going to lube that up as well, because that's obviously going to be rubbing on the gear. So to prevent that from causing any more issues, lube that up as well. And we'll also be lubing up the nib of the joystick. I'm just gonna drop that in there like that. Yeah, I've lubed that up pretty nicely. And then I am then going to put the gear and the stick on properly. But obviously before I can do that, I've got to put it back in its module. So as you can see, this is pretty dusty. So we need to clean that up as well with IPA. I clean that up with IPA. Because we put that O-ring on, that you need to kind of turn it a little bit, but that's part and parcel of what we're doing. So we point that so that the gear part is at the top. Obviously, I drop that in, and I can already feel that there's a lot less resistance just on the gears. But yeah. I'm going to pop this back in. Now, be careful when you pop those back in. There's actually little teeth that you want to put those arms in for your bowl. So just make sure you do that. So we're going to drop this now straight back in. And what you're going to do is you're going to try and align that so that when you pop it back, it all goes in smoothly. And if you've got too much resistance, pull it back out, check why. We can just do this a little test. Obviously, I haven't put my sensors in yet, but we're just testing to see how that sits. And I can tell you straight away that that is a completely different stick. Doing alright, just chilling on my day off. Big chillin', big chillin', big chillin'. Now, I want to clean out this module, this sensor part, because I'm just not confident that it's clean. To do that, I'm just using a Q-tip. There are no replacement parts. No replacement parts. So this is just a controller that I've bought, and I'm just using whatever parts came with the controller. I'm not doing anything more. I'm just adding an O-ring to the controller module, which is elevating the gear from the ball on the stick, and then I'm just dropping that in, and we should have a nice feeling joystick after this. And once I reassemble the controller, we can do our benchmark again and see how much of an improvement there was. So as you can see, you can hear that. How beautiful is that? And you can notice there's no elevation. So I'm gonna press start now, and we can see that obviously it's got a little bit of there we go. So you have to you still get a little bit of interference from center, but nowhere near as bad as it was. So we're gonna test the benchmark now. And again, I'm not even really pulling on the joystick anymore like I was. Let me make sure I'm down. And hopefully I don't look like an idiot and this works fine. Now I like that is significantly better than what was happening. Just put a little bit more lube on this just to give it a bit more just to secure it, not secure it, sorry, just to give it a bit more bit less resistance when it's moving around through the angles. But yeah, hope this has been useful, guys, and I'll see you all around.